Father, as we gather together here in this place, Father, I ask, Holy Spirit, that you'll lead us. Help us retain today's encouragement. Yes. Holy Spirit, speak through your word to your children for your glory alone. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Grace and peace be multiplied to you this morning, family. And I trust that the week has been well in the Lord for everyone here. We're going to continue on with Psalm 23, but just a quick summary of verse 3. So verse 3, part 1, we covered that the Lord, that he restores our soul. And the term that restore means to restore or return something back to its original condition. We saw this in the example of Psalm 51, verse 12, when David was repenting and asking God to restore the joy of his salvation and uphold me with a generous spirit. The term there, restore, was David asking God to restore his soul back to the joy of his salvation, back to when he had joy with his salvation. So it's that word there, restore. The lessons from the verse that God restores, we learn that he restores us in a couple of ways. Through confession, repentance, and also conviction. And we also learn that he revives our hearts when it's depleted or drained, or when we leave our first love. He reignites our desire and our passion for God's word, and that he can restore our joy back to where it once was. He can also restore our strength when we lack. So in those times when we are weak, he restores us back. He restores our strength. And he also sanctifies us when we fall short. On the second part of verse 3, we learned that he leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Now we know that the Lord leads and guides us personally. And the concept of the word paths was considered to be our everyday lives, the things we do every day. Whether it's going to work, going to school, or serving at work, or serving at church. Let it be done unto the glory of God alone. And that was the motive that we took away, that should be the motive for all of us who serve in the house of the Lord. That it should be done for his name's sake, unto his name, for his glory. So for this morning, we're going to be looking at Psalm 23, verse 4. And if I can have all our Samoan readers, please read Psalms 23, verse 4. And if I can have Brother Vai read it in English, and then I will make an attempt to read it in Tonga.
Praise the Lord.
So Psalms 23 verse 4, please, all our Samoan readers.
Verse 4 in English. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me.
Same wa tolu vesi fa, kupehe ni lau. Io neonga e te alu pe I he te lea o kumalu waki ai mate, e ikai te o mana wahe ki hokovi. He kokoe o kumawheohi. Ko sio toko toko mo akau, o kene whakawhia maali e iau.
Amen.
So the focus of this morning's text is verse 4. I'm going to break this up into two parts, which is the calming and the comforting of our Lord. So we read there, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. David opens this verse with, even though I walk. Now the term I walk means to move, proceed, or to depart into. So it's to move, proceed, or to depart into. Now where is David proceeding or walking into? Well, in the text there it says the valley of the shadow of death. there's some descriptions of what this place, or people who describe what this place is, and this is found in Job chapter 10, verse 21 to 22. If we can all turn to Job chapter 10, verses 21 to 22. So Job chapter 10, verse 21 to 22. If I can have Brother Lole please read in English, in Samoan please, and Fred if you can read in English, and then I'll follow up on reading in Tongan please. So Job chapter 10, verse 21 and 22. Job chapter 10, verses 21 to 22.
I ro'o alo atu ai I le mea o te le tu e fo'i mai ai. O le nuu, o le pōri uli, ma le ata o le oti. O le nuu, o le pōri uli. Tusa lava ma le pōri uli te le. O le ata o le oti, e le iai ni mea tonu, o lona pupura mai e tusa ma le pōri uli te le.
21, 22, Job chapter 10. Before I go to the place from which I shall not return, to the land of darkness and the shadow of death, a land as dark as darkness itself, as the shadow of death without any order, where even the light is like darkness.
Siope taha noa vesi wa taha ki oa. Te eki ke o alu ki e oa e foki. Ki he whanua o e po uli mo e ata o e mate. O e whanua po uli lolo. O e po uli o e ata o e mate o koto ma vei veu pea ko hono mama ko e po uli ata. So that's a description of what this place, the shadow or the valley of death is. I'm on Job chapter 10, verse 22. It's described as the land of darkness. It's described as a place that has no order, or without any order, that even the light that's meant to illuminate the place, it's darkness itself. The picture is almost a place that is dark and it's chaotic, and a place that has no order. Now this place goes against God's creation, as we know that God is a God of order. We see that in the book of creation, or the book of Genesis, where we read the accounts of God's creation in a particular order. And we also learn in Psalm 111 that God is a God of ordinance. Again, that there is an order in all of God's creation. Another example is found in Psalm 107 verse 14. If you can all turn to Psalm 107 verse 14, please. Psalms 107 verse 14. If I can have Brother Tolu read in Samoan and Brother Vai read in English, please.
So Muslim fitu pe pasfuma fa. Aya o maya ila to ngai le bo liuli, malia ta o liuli. Wana motu sia fo I o la to no no.
Psalms 107, verse 14. He brought them out of darkness and the shadow of death, and broke their chains in pieces.
Sa me taha noa fitu vesi taha wha o kupehene tohi. Nā ne whakaho mai me he po uli mo ata o mate pe ko hona hai na e ne motuhi pe. So the description here is almost similar to that of Job. A valley or a place that's dark, but this one particularly had the word chains, which could mean that there was bondage in this place of the shadow of death. or valley of the shadow of death. Now through the valley, that comes from the Hebrew word gate, which means a steep valley or a narrow gorge. Now the word gorge is described as a narrow valley between hills or mountains, typically with steep rocky walls and has a stream running through it. So if we can all picture a river running through the middle with two steep rocky hills that's like almost like a V shape sort of, and then there's a valley or warpath down the middle. That's what a gorge is, or that's what the valley is in this text. Now we remember that this psalm is one talking about a shepherd and his flock. And we learn that sheep trust wholeheartedly in the leading of the shepherd. They trust that the shepherd will lead them into places of green pastures where they will be fed, where they will be nourished, but also at the same time that they will also trust the shepherd to lead them into a place where they will have peace and rest, and that's beside the still waters where they'll be able to drink as well. Sheep have no clue on what's going to happen as the shepherd leads them. They don't know when danger is around, or sheep don't even know where dangerous places are, so they trust wholeheartedly on their shepherd. Now as the sheep and the shepherd enter or walk into this place called the shadow of the valley of death, where it's dark, again where it's blocked out by the sun and where it's dangerous, sheep are vulnerable to danger in this valley. Because as they go into this place, they're vulnerable to get lost or wander off. They also at that time had bandits or thieves ready to steal the sheep. But they're also vulnerable to animals such as wolves, lions and bears that could possibly take an easy meal from the flock. The picture or imagery of the shadow of the valley of death is that it's a place of danger, of darkness, out of order, in the sense that if something frightens the sheep, they tend to react rather than respond. They tend to scatter, or they tend to run off in other places, which is sort of similar to us as people. Or they tend to be held bondage or held by chains by fear, where they will just freeze. The psalmist continues on that even though he is walking through this dangerous place, this dark, chaotic place, this place that has no order established, the psalmist says, I will fear no evil. Now the word fear comes from the Hebrew word, the word fear here means to be terrified or to be afraid. So even though David is going through this place or leading the flock through this place, he boldly says that I will fear no evil, that I will not be terrified, that I will not be afraid. Now, why does David say this? Well, we read there in the next verse where he confidently says, for you are with me. For you are with me. The psalmist here knows for certain that Yahovah, the great shepherd, is with him. Even though he's walking through this dangerous, dark, chaotic, out of order place, the Lord Yahovah Ra, the great shepherd, is going to be with him. This is an imagery of the calmness that David has from the great shepherd. As David walks through the valley of the shadow of death, knowing that he will face danger, knowing that he is walking into a dangerous place that is chaotic, the psalmist does not panic, but has peace in his heart to say, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. As we read there, not only does he calms us with the peace that surpasses all understanding through times of trial and danger, but he also comforts us, which leads us into the comforting part of the text. So part 2 of this is the comforting of the Lord. And we read there, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. David gives us 2 equipment that a shepherd uses to guide his sheep. We see there the rod, and we also see the staff, which was essential to the works of the shepherd. Now the comfort in the rod, this rod is described as, or is a symbol of the Lord's strength and his protection. It's a sturdy wooden stick used to fight off animals that would attack the defenseless flock. But it was also used to keep count of the sheep. We observed that the rod was not just a tool, was a protecting tool that was essential to the shepherd. It was not a walking stick. It was a stick used to protect, to fight and defend the flock.
Praise the Lord.
And we also see here the comfort and the staff. So there's the rod and the staff. Now the staff is a symbol of God's guidance and loving kindness. The imagery of the staff is a long, slender stick that often had a hook. If you can all picture that, I'm trying to imitate as best as I can. A long, slender stick with a hook at the top. Now, what does the hook, why does this stick have a hook at the end, and why is it different from the rod? Well, as we learned that the rod is to defend and fight off animals that would attack the sheep, the staff here is used because sheep are notorious wanderers. So once the shepherd takes their eye off the sheep is up to mischief, or they are easy to, prone to wander and go off and get lost. Now, because they wander off and get lost, they can easily get trapped. And that's what the hook is for. If it's a place that's out of reach for the shepherd uses that hook, puts it around the neck of the sheep, and then retrieves it back into safety. The comforting of the Lord as a sheep can be with their shepherd. So the sheep knows and trusts in the shepherd that regardless if they walk through this valley, they'll be protected. Regardless if they walk through this valley, the shepherd is ready to defend, to fight for them. Regardless if they walk through this valley, and if they were off and get trapped in other places, that the shepherd will come and retrieve them back.
Amen.
For us today, what is the value of the shadow of death that you are walking through? Now, this could be a place of trial, a place of danger, or a place of where you're prone, where everything is prone to allow you to wander off or get distracted. This could be the worries of the world or the distractions of the world that can easily make us prone to wander. So what is your shadow of the valley of death? Or the shadow of death that you are walking through? Whatever valley you are walking through, be comforted, as the psalmist boldly says, for you are with me. For you, as in Yahovah Ra, the Lord, the shepherd, the great shepherd is with us. This is a promise that we have from God, that he will never leave us nor forsake us. When we are prone to wander, it's only the Lord who can lead us back, who can save us from the traps of this world by leading us in his word. I'll now end off with Psalms 23 verse 4. For all our Samoan readers, please, if you can read Psalms 23 verse 4. Brother Vaivai, if you can read it in English. And I'll end it off in Tongan before we pray to finish this part of our prayer meeting. So Psalms 23 verse 4 for all our Samoan Bible readers.
Psalm 23 verse 4. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me.
Same wa tolu vesi whao pehene lau. Io neongo e te alupe I he te lea o kumalu waki ai mate e I kai te o manavahe ki hakovi. He kokoe o kumau whiohi. Ko si I toko toko mo akau o kene whakawhie mā lie ia. Let us pray. Father, you continue to show yourself faithful to us as we learn the lessons that we have extracted from Psalms 23 verse 4. I pray that truth will find itself planted in the good souls of the hearers. I do ask that whatever is not of truth, that they will fall on deaf ears. I do ask that you protect the seeds of truth that's planted itself in good soil, so that the worries and the circumstances and the enemy of this world does not snatch it away. Do help us, Lord, apply the word so we're not just hearers, but also doers of this word, of the word. These things I ask in the glorious name of Yehovah, I pray. Amen. If we can all be upstanding, and I'll hand it